Hi, I'm Sean Kanan. Welcome to Aspiring Hollywood. This is my interview. It's all me, right here. Well, I've been on 4 different soaps, and I think over the course of my days in soap operas, I think I've done close to 1,000 episodes. So, General Hospital, Sunset Beach, Bold and the Beautiful, and Young The Restless. Deacon's an interesting guy. I kind of refer to him as the sort of the hooker with a heart of gold. He's a guy who comes from Las Vegas. Early on, he ran a bar called The Lair. He has a very abusive stepfather, doesn't know who his real father is. His mother, whom we've never met, was a stripper in Vegas. And he's a guy who, in a lot of ways, always feels second best. And because of that, he's a real hustler, and he's a real con man. And he's a real womanizer. But he's got a strange code of ethics and morality that I think only makes sense to him. I think the challenge in the role is to continually challenge myself. And by that I mean, after I've played this character off and on since I think 2002. And I've had the opportunity to kind of explore a lot of different stuff with this guy. And sometimes in daytime, you've got a front burner storyline and you're being given some really good material, and the material is challenging, and that's great. Other times, the material is a little less meaty, let's put it that way. And those are the periods where, as an actor, you have to really work extra hard to try and challenge yourself. I challenge myself to, to find out something that maybe I haven't played before, a different way of expressing. Sometimes, in a soap opera, you're saying the same thing over and over again. Soap operas, by their very nature, are designed that, if you don't know what's happening on Thursday, you're going to be told again on Friday, so that you tune in on Monday. And as an actor, it's challenging sometimes to have to impart the same material over and over again, and do it in a way that's fresh and ultimately entertaining. Because at the end of the day, that's largely what it's about. I mean, we're entertainers. Michelle and I are partners in a company called Flip Creative Inc. And Michelle said to me a couple months ago, she said, you've done everything. You've done theater, you've done film, you've done TV. What haven't you done? What would you like to do? And I was kind of half kidding, and I was like, well, what about a rap video? And so we've just produced a comedic rap video. I have no aspirations to be a rapper. You're going to talk to my friend Curtis, who's a real rapper and an extremely gifted one. But a friend and I, we wrote a song called I'm a Soap Star. And we shot this really, really funny video, which we're going to probably release in August. And for me to work with the woman that I love, who inspires me daily, who makes me better on every single level, and to be able to work with her is it's like a gift. And I'm a pretty happy guy these days. I just finished a film which Michelle was actually a co-producer on, called My Trip Back to the Dark Side. Terrific film. Sean Young is in it. An actress named Betsy Russell, who has been on all the Saw movies. Curtis actually does a nice little cameo in it. And for me, working with my friends is just so cool. I mean, I read something that, like, after 1970 something, Clint Eastwood never made another movie that wasn't made with his company Malpaso. I think Malpaso is what it's called. I just thought about that, and I was like, how great would it be to know that, the cameraman, the guy pulling focus, the woman doing craft service, these are all like your crew that you've worked with for years and years and years, and that they support you and have your back creatively from the top down to the guys who are the transportation guys. You know what I mean?
Sure, it's a family.
And I mean it's a family, and that's what I aspire to. I mean, I really aspire to surround myself with a group of creative people that I can go from project to project with. Sure. And continue to do that. And I've been fortunate that I've got a couple of those people already in place. Michelle and I are going to be producing a feature this year We're looking at 3 different projects right now, and we're sort of narrowing it down to which one of those we're going to do. And you know, Steven Spielberg said it. He said that filmmaking is the most expensive addiction out there. Absolutely. You know, and it's true. It's like once you start doing it, it's like, man, I gotta keep doing it. Gotta keep doing it. So let me backtrack and try and first maybe give a little bit of advice that comes from having made mistakes, obviously. Sure. I think the first thing that anyone needs to do before going into the arts is to have a very serious conversation with yourself and decide, am I doing this because there's just nothing else I can do? You know, I mean, I believe everybody has a song in their heart and it's waiting to be, you know, revealed, but there are a lot of easier ways to reveal your music to the world than being an actor or a writer. There's a lot of frustration and it's a difficult path. But if you decide that that's what you want to do, then you need to go about it intelligently. And I think that there's 2 paths. There's more probably, but one is obviously to do it academically, to get a like an MFA or something like that at college, or even enroll in somewhere like Juilliard, or do what many actors do, which is study, you know, outside of the university system. I think that if you're really serious about pursuing a career as an actor, you need to be in one of the you know, one of the centers of where the business is, which is either New York or Los Angeles. I mean, to a lesser degree, you know, probably Miami, Atlanta, and Chicago have pretty vibrant, you know, acting communities. But and I would say that you have to really look at the economics of it and plan on not working for your first year. You know, how are you going to support that? And you should definitely get in a really good acting class for a number of reasons. I mean, you obviously need to have, you know, it's like Uta Hagen's book, Respect for Acting. There's a technique and there's a mindset that goes along with being an actor that, you know, it's critical to have those tools. I think that one thing that is available that wasn't really available when I was coming up is I think that people have the ability to make their own product now. And a lot of people say, you know, how do I get an agent? Well, I mean, if you're not making money, it's pretty tough to get an agent. It's a bitter catch-22. And if you're not in the Screen Actors Guild, that makes it exponentially more difficult. So what do? Well, you know, everybody has got a phone with a camera on it, and I mean, it sounds simplistic, but literally, you know, create your own content rather. You know, post it on YouTube. Do whatever you can to attract attention from the people that you need to surround yourself with to continue to ascend. You know, obviously finding good representation is crucial. When you're in a good acting class, a lot of information gets disseminated from the students. You start to hear about this agent, that agent, who goes to a showcase, you know, who's willing to take a chance on new actors, etc. I was studying martial arts, and the head of my martial arts school also happened to be the stuntman for Pat Morita, played Mr. Miyagi. And he's a very, very famous martial artist, and he's very broken English, and he says, "Hey, Sean, they're gonna do bad guy, Karate Kid 3, you go try." I said, okay. So I had done a couple episodes of television. I did a show called Werewolf for Fox, and I think I did one other show called Baby Boom with Kate Jackson, and that's all I'd done. But I had my SAG card, and I'd worked. And so I showed up at the casting director's office the day before this open call, and I said, "Hi," I said, "I'm like a real actor. Can I audition for you?" Thinking I'm doing her a big favor, of course. And she said, "No, you can go and audition with everybody else at the open call." So the next day I showed up at the open call, and the line of hopefuls for the role of Mike Barnes, it almost encircled the studio. I was in Burbank. I think there were over 1,500 people. And I mean every type of guy possible. You know, I remember that the description for the character was a 17-year-old white Mike Tyson. I said, that's not me, but you know what? I'm gonna give it my best shot. And so John Avildsen, who had won the Oscar for Rocky, and who had directed, God, he's directed so many things. He was with a little film crew, and he had a handheld camera, and he was walking up and down this this line of hopefuls. And I knew that as he was approaching me, I knew I had a very, very short amount of time to make an impact on this guy. And he stopped in front of me, which that was important thing number one, because he didn't stop in front of everybody. And I knew I had to get him to stop in front of me, and I made a sort of very intense eye contact with this guy, and I got him, literally I willed this guy to stop, And he's John's a little guy, and he's an older man, and he asked me, he goes, okay, I want you to intimidate me. And I said something along the lines of, I said, listen, I'm going to tell you what. I said, you don't bring me in there to screen test. I said, I'm going to come find you, and I'm going to stab you in your kitchen tonight. And he goes, I buy it. Send him in. Wow. So they set me in, and I got in there, and it was like a 3-ring circus. I mean, there was Entertainment Tonight was there. They were really playing up the publicity angle of having an open call, and they were really going to hire an unknown. And they had a set, and Ralph Macchio was there. And you got to remember something, that I was in the theaters a year before this watching the film as a fan. It was very surreal, and I had very little acting training at this point. I mean, I just sort of was going on straight, balls and force of personality. And they asked me to do a scene with Ralph, basically the same thing, just to kind of intimidate him, and I guess I did. And then they promptly went out and hired somebody else, by the way. They fired the guy after 2 days, and then they called me back, so I was actually the second choice. I've made a career of being the second choice, and that's okay. I'll do that all day long. I believe it was. I really do. I mean, that was so many weird things happened during that experience for me that I believe it was kind of meant to be. Sure. Yeah. Why not? Of course I would. I mean, I didn't have a whole lot of people who really gave me a helping hand as I was coming up, other than my parents. I mean, I would absolutely not probably be alive if it wasn't for my parents. But yeah, I would do that. I think what I would say in closing is that the arts are such an important part of our culture. The fabric that makes us who we are, I think, as a society, is largely woven by the different artists, and it's so important that we continue to have a thriving new crop of young actors, young writers, directors, etc. And that's why I applaud what you're doing so much. I mean, it's really important, and you know that we do what we do because we have to do it. Because we're nuts. Because we love it, we have to do it. And I mean, if I wasn't being paid to do this, I would probably be, doing community theater just because I love doing it. And you're gonna meet a lot of people who are gonna tell you no. And I wish I could quote it perfectly, but in Marianne Williamson wrote a book, and I think it was called A Return to Love. And in this book, she has a beautiful passage which Nelson Mandela quoted in his 1994 or 1991 inaugural address when he became the president of South Africa. And basically, and I think people have heard this before, but it basically says, who are you not to be fabulous? Who are you not to be, a light? Because that's what we're meant to be. We're all meant to go out and shine and inspire other people. And by not doing that, you rob the world of something, and you never know how that's going to affect the rest of the world. And it's like I said, everybody has a song, inside their hearts, and it's so important that we all discover what it is and let it out. That's all I got.